Mother hid her illness from her kids. Truth came out too late. The hospital room was silent except for the steady beep of monitors. 3 siblings, Michael, Emma, and Lily, stood frozen at their mother's bedside, staring at the woman who had raised them with unwavering strength. The doctor's words still hung in the air, stage 4. She's known for almost 2 years. In that moment, everything made sense. The business trips, the weight loss she blamed on a new diet, the makeup that couldn't quite hide her pallor. Their mother had been fighting cancer alone, determined to shield them from pain until she no longer could. Now, with precious little time left, they faced the devastating truth that had been hidden in plain sight. If you've ever wondered how far a parent would go to protect their children, this story will show you the heartbreaking lengths of a mother's love. Like and subscribe to hear more stories that remind us how precious family truly is. Sarah Matthews had always been the kind of mother who made everything look effortless. At 45, she ran her own small accounting firm, never missed her children's important events, and somehow still managed to have dinner on the table most nights. Her husband David's death 5 years earlier from a car accident had been devastating, but Sarah had picked up the pieces, determined to give her children stability. Michael, her oldest at 23, had just finished graduate school and was starting his career in a neighboring city. Emma was 20, in her second year of college, passionate about becoming a teacher. Lily, the baby at 17, was finishing her final year of high school, artistic and sensitive. The headache started on a Tuesday. Sarah dismissed them as stress from tax season, popping ibuprofen and continuing with her day. When they persisted for weeks, accompanied by occasional dizziness, she finally made an appointment with her doctor, expecting a prescription for migraines. Instead, she found herself sitting across from Dr. Patel as he gently explained the results of her MRI. The words "brain tumor" hung in the air between them. Further tests would reveal it was glioblastoma, aggressive and already advanced. "What's the prognosis?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside her. Dr. Patel's eyes softened. "With treatment, perhaps 2 to 3 years. Without it, significantly less." Sarah nodded, absorbing the information with the same methodical approach she used for complex tax problems. "And the treatment?" "Surgery to remove as much of the tumor as possible, followed by radiation and chemotherapy. It's aggressive, and there will be side effects." Sarah thought of Michael, just starting his career, Emma, thriving in college, and Lily, already anxious about her college applications. They had already lost their father. How could she burden them with this? "I need time to think," she told Dr. Patel. "And I need to understand how to manage this without disrupting my children's lives." That evening, Sarah sat alone in her kitchen, a cup of tea growing cold before her. She made her decision: she would fight this cancer with everything she had, but she would do it quietly. Her children would not watch her suffer as they had watched their father deteriorate after the accident. They would not put their lives on hold to care for her. They would not carry the weight of impending loss while trying to build their futures. The next morning, she called her sister Claire, who lived 3 hours away. "I need your help," Sarah said, her voice breaking for the first time. "And I need you to keep a secret." Claire became her co-conspirator. Sarah scheduled treatments during business conferences that took her to Claire's city. She created a detailed calendar of her children's schedules, ensuring her worst days would fall when they were busiest. She researched makeup techniques to hide pallor and weight loss. She practiced smiling through pain. The surgery was the hardest to hide. Sarah told her children she was taking a 2-week vacation with Claire to celebrate her sister's 50th birthday, a milestone still 6 months away. Claire drove her to the hospital and stayed by her side through the procedure and initial recovery. When Sarah returned home, she blamed her slower movements on a bad fall during the trip. She wore scarves to hide the surgical scar at the base of her skull until her hair grew back enough to cover it. For months, the deception worked. Sarah attended Emma's choir performances and Lily's art shows. She drove 4 hours to surprise Michael for his birthday. Between treatments, she maintained her accounting practice, though she had quietly begun transitioning clients to her associate, Jennifer. The children noticed small changes. Sarah seemed more tired, more forgetful. She occasionally missed calls or texts, unusual for a mother who had always been responsive. But they attributed these changes to normal aging, to the stress of running a business alone, to the natural evolution of their relationship as they grew more independent. 18 months after her diagnosis, Sarah sat in Dr. Patel's office again, listening as he explained that the tumor was growing despite their best efforts. The treatments had bought her time, but not as much as they'd hoped. "How long?" she asked. 6 months, perhaps less, he replied gently. "It's time to consider hospice care, Sarah." That night, Sarah called Claire again. "I need to start preparing them," she said. "I don't know how to tell them I've been lying all this time." "You haven't been lying," Claire insisted. "You've been protecting them." "Have I? Or have I robbed them of time to prepare, to say goodbye?" Sarah began dropping subtle hints. She updated her will. She gave Emma her grandmother's pearl necklace, just because. She spent a weekend helping Michael organize his new apartment. She recorded Lily's favorite bedtime story, though Lily was long past the age for such things. She planned to tell them after Lily's high school graduation. They would all be together, and Lily would have that milestone behind her. Sarah had it all planned out, a family dinner, gentle words, apologies for the deception, assurances that she had received excellent care. But her body had other plans. 2 weeks before Lily's graduation, Sarah collapsed while making dinner. Emma, home from college for the weekend, found her unconscious on the kitchen floor and called 911. At the hospital, the siblings huddled together in the waiting room, confused and frightened. When Dr. Patel emerged, his familiar face was a shock to them. "You know our mother?" Michael asked. Dr. Patel's expression shifted to one of confusion, then understanding. "Yes," he said carefully. "I've been your mother's oncologist for the past 20 months." The word oncologist hit them like a physical blow. "There must be some mistake," Emma insisted. "Our mother isn't sick." Dr. Patel realized the truth then. "I think you should come with me," he said gently. "Your mother is awake, and there's a lot you need to know." The walk to Sarah's room was the longest of their lives. They found her propped up in bed, looking small and fragile, the pretense finally stripped away. When she saw them enter with Dr. Patel, tears filled her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I wanted to tell you after Lily's graduation." "Tell us what, Mom?" Lily asked, her voice trembling. Sarah took a deep breath. "I have brain cancer. I've been fighting it for almost 2 years." The room spun around them as Sarah explained everything, the diagnosis, the treatments, the careful deception. Claire arrived hours later, filling in details Sarah was too exhausted to share. "Why didn't you tell us?" Michael demanded, anger and hurt competing in his voice. "We could have helped you." "That's exactly why," Sarah replied weakly. "You would have put your lives on hold. Michael, you would have turned down your job offer. Emma, you would have taken a semester off. Lily, you would have worried through your entire senior year." "That was our choice to make," Emma said, tears streaming down her face. "You're my children. Protecting you has always been my job." The next days were a blur of medical consultations and painful revelations. Sarah was moved to a hospice facility, where the siblings established a rotation so she was never alone. They learned about glioblastoma, about the treatments Sarah had endured silently, about the pain she had hidden behind smiles. Claire brought boxes of cards Sarah had written for future milestones, birthdays, graduations, weddings. "She's been preparing for this longer than you know," Claire told them. Lily's graduation came. The school arranged a special ceremony in Sarah's hospice room, with the principal presenting Lily's diploma while Sarah watched from her bed, pride momentarily overshadowing the pain in her eyes. That night, after Emma and Lily had gone to get dinner, Michael sat alone with his mother. "I'm still angry with you," he admitted. "We lost 2 years we could have had together, knowing the truth." Sarah reached for his hand. "I know. But you also had 2 years without the shadow of my illness hanging over everything you did. 2 years of normal life. Was it worth it? The deception, the suffering alone?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "I don't know anymore. I thought I was doing the right thing. Maybe there is no right way to die." 3 weeks later, with her children surrounding her bed, Sarah Matthews took her last breath. The funeral was attended by clients who had no idea their accountant had been ill, by neighbors who had marveled at Sarah's energy despite her frequent business trips, by teachers and friends who had never suspected the truth. In the months that followed, the siblings struggled with their grief, complicated by the lingering hurt of their mother's deception. They found themselves analyzing memories, wondering which moments of maternal strength had actually been moments of incredible struggle. "Remember Mom at your choir concert last year?" Lily asked Emma one evening as they sorted through Sarah's belongings. She was in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. Emma nodded. That was 2 days after her radiation treatment, according to her calendar. They discovered other things as they cleaned out their mother's home. A journal documenting her journey, not with medical details but with reflections on watching her children grow while knowing she wouldn't see them reach many milestones. Voice recordings for future events. Letters addressed to each of them, to be opened on specific dates. One entry in particular struck them. "I wonder if I'm making the right choice. Every day I don't tell them feels like another brick in a wall I'm building between us. But every day I see them living their lives without the burden of my illness is a gift. Perhaps they'll never forgive me for this choice. I hope someday they'll understand it wasn't about hiding the truth, it was about preserving their joy for as long as possible." A year after Sarah's death, the siblings established a foundation in her name, providing support to single parents with cancer. They created resources specifically addressing the question that had torn their family apart: how and when to tell children about a parent's terminal illness. At the foundation's launch event, Michael stood at the podium, looking out at the gathered crowd. "Our mother made a choice that many will disagree with," he said. "She chose to suffer in silence rather than share her burden. We lost precious time to prepare, to help, to say goodbye properly. But we've come to understand that her choice, however flawed, came from a place of incredible love." Emma joined him at the microphone. "We're not here to tell you what the right choice is. We're here to make sure that whatever choice you make, you don't have to make it alone, the way our mother did." Lily completed their message: "Our mother hid her illness to protect us. Now, we're sharing her story to protect others, both the parents facing impossible choices and the children who, like us, deserve the chance to say goodbye." As they finished speaking, a slideshow began playing behind them, images of Sarah throughout their lives. Sarah at the beach, teaching Michael to swim. Sarah helping Emma bake her first cake. Sarah painting alongside Lily. Sarah, always smiling, always strong, always there. The final image was one they'd found in her journal, a selfie taken in a hospital room, Sarah's head wrapped in a scarf, her face thin but her eyes determined. On the back, she'd written, "Remember me like this too, fighting for more time with you." In the years that followed, each sibling found their own way to carry their mother's memory. Michael named his daughter Sarah. Emma became an advocate for cancer patient support. Lily created a series of paintings exploring the complexity of grief and forgiveness. They never fully resolved their feelings about their mother's choice. Some days they understood it perfectly, other days the hurt of her deception felt fresh again. But they came to accept that love is sometimes expressed in imperfect ways, that protection can look like deception, that strength can mask incredible vulnerability. And they learned the most important lesson their mother had tried to teach them through her silence, that life continues even in the shadow of loss, that joy can coexist with grief, and that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go, not just for those who die, but for those who must find the courage to live on. As Sarah had written in her final letter to them, "I didn't tell you I was dying because I wanted you to remember how to live. Forgive me for my silence. Remember me with joy. And most importantly, love each other through whatever comes next."